I was like, I wonder what's other things that people notice about you that won't. And the only reason why I believe that they were pretty straightforward and blunt about like having the questions because it was during the time that the election was happening, so it was easy to ask people those type of questions. Oh, who do you vote for? Who do you vote for? What do you believe? And stuff like that. It was a very easy topic to bring up and kind of ask you directly. But others like like other topics, example like saying with like what do you believe? What are your points of view and stuff like that. A lot of people don't really ask you directly things like that. It's usually something that you bring up during a conversation, or if you're working with someone for a lot of hours in a small environment, you get to know the person a lot more. One of the things that I remember, I was working with a coworker that we were stuck in a. It was during the when I was working at the bases. We were stuck waiting for one of the generals to come in and approve the training program, or the training scenario with the sand table and all that. And I was with one guy for like 10 hours, which is waiting, hurry up and wait. We were just waiting for they come in to check it out and say that it's good to go, thumbs up, and that's all we had to do. So during that time, there was a lot of time. So we were talking, and then at first I thought he was kind of like quiet because he wouldn't say too much. But within the first hour or two, he kind of asked something, where you from, what you been up to, kind of like a little bit of stuff like that. And then with more time, the conversation opened up more, and then you kind of started talking about like our points of view, his point of view, and at the end of the day, we kind of like knew each other from like for years because we had so much time to conversate and talk, which opened up the conversation to like certain topics, stuff like that. But like only in those type of scenarios you'll get asked, or you'll get the time to be able to share your opinion, what you believe, and then based on that, people see you in a different perspective. But like I said, when it comes to like maybe a short time or short interactions or places where you don't have that much time to interact, people will measure you, like see how this person is. Is this person does he look like a good worker or not? Like for example, I kind of started training someone at work, and right away from their posture, the way they stood, the way they interacted, I was like, oh man, this guy's not really. Doesn't look like he's too interested in his job. He doesn't look like he has too much stamina in work or just in life. And when I was talking to him, very simple answers, not really open to conversation, just very bitter type of thing. And the kind of with that small interaction, I was able to determine like, oh yeah, this person's not really social. He's not. He doesn't really have like anything that I could say that, oh, this guy's solid, oh, this guy believes this or this guy believes that, because there was no open conversation, there was nothing. So, but just by not even talking, I was able to kind of determine that I mean, like it's like people say, oh, don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes you can just if you see if you see a trash can, I mean, you're not gonna check if it's trash in there. It's already labeled that it's trash. So, but like there's always that exception where someone's garbage is someone else's like treasure type of thing. But those are only like exceptions here and there, not all the time. Sometimes people tend to believe that the exception applies all the time, but that's why it's called the exception, because it does not apply all the time. Uh, but with like me seeing all these different things about people saying that how I look, or like in the sense of like how do I that I'm a Trump supporter, and some other people saying, or me, looking at this guy saying that he doesn't have too much, as you can say, stamina, or I don't know, he's just. And it's kind of like, oh man, you are, judging the poor dude. But I mean, hey, that's what you portray. That's what I'm trying to. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to get to. Is that's what the image that you're portraying, and that's what kind of people get stuck with. So I definitely do believe that first impressions is a very big part of when you interact in a work, at school, or just anything in general. If you're going visiting, maybe like a new church or anything like that, first impressions is like a very strong source that people will see you, and then if you put that strong impression, people will, I mean, respect you. Tend to come and talk to you in a certain way, a certain manner. If you don't really let your, like you can kind of say your presence known too much. I think I talked about this last time I talked. People are not going to really acknowledge you or not take you too serious because you're just kind of, as I say, you're like a feather in the wind. You don't really have any sense of direction. But with that, I want to go to Revelation chapter 21, verse 8. Revelation chapter 21, verse 8. Yes, he is asleep. And it goes, but the fearful and the unbelieving and the abominable and the murderers and the warmongers and the sorcerers and the idolaters and all the liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Um, so you know how sometimes we talk about how there's different versions in the Bible. So I was reading it from here, but when I did my research on this other version, it says, "But the cowardly," and that's kind of like the word that I wanted to implement more. But the cowardly shall, like it says, the cowardly, the murderers, warmongers, all of them will be burned in the fire. But the cowardly part, that's the one that I kind of want to focus more onto. Of course, all the other ones are important, but the cowardly is the one that I kind of want to focus more on, in the sense that sometimes I think a lot of the source material that is written in the Bible and stuff is, it's written mostly, 100% mostly by men. And, they write down the stories like the book of Ruth and the other women that were in the Bible. But mostly, it's kind of, you can say like a manly way that scripture was written, directed a little bit more towards the men. And that's where it comes, where the category of, men need to leave the house, which is a certain sense that implies that. But the cowardly, like I said, sometimes we can implement cowardly. What's the most common way someone, you say, oh, he's a coward, is because why? The fearful, like it says in this part. But the fearful, you're scared, you're being a coward. But for some reason, coward just sounds, especially towards guys, it just sounds more, what would you call it? Like, yeah, emasculating, you can say. Yeah, exactly. More emasculating, more like dreadful. Like, man, that guy's a coward. Like, so if you label someone, a guy, another coward, it's like, oh, don't even bother with him. He's a coward. But like it can be implemented in many things. The most popular one is like you're scared of doing something. I would assume back in the days, ancient times, when it comes to like battle, war, if the men had to go fight and he didn't want to, he was a coward. During Roman times, it's very popular where, if they fought and they cowered out or they retreated or things like that without the proper command, they were all the legion or the amount of soldiers that did that were put up in a circle and they were undressed, and then they were, I would assume, if I remember correctly, let's just assume it's like 10 of them, and they would separate them in groups. So a group of 10, they would have a set of, like, you can say sticks, straws, and whoever picked the shortest one would be in the middle of the circle of the 9 at that point, and all the 9 would get sticks, and they would beat the person to death for being cowards. That was a very common thing that they would do during the Roman Empire. So, I mean, if that time they didn't like cowards, and here in the Bible, it's cowards will burn in the lake of fire. So that kind of already implements that being a coward is really not a good thing. Like my dad has mentioned before, that my grandfather always had a saying that says that the cowards, the liars, and the lazy, not even in hell. So. Back to cowardness. So that's the way that it's known, kind of figuratively, like in the physical sense, like being scared to confront anything. In ancient times it could be a battle, but how can we kind of modernize it to like right now? Being a coward, not wanting to, or doing things that you are scared of. A lot of times it could be the simplest thing. Asking for a promotion. You're scared, you're fearful of asking for that promotion, even though that you've put in the work, you've done all the deeds correctly, but we all have that like fearfulness of calling or maybe even confronting the boss, manager, for that promotion, or even just simply as asking for an extension of a homework assignment. You get that. I mean, I think we all get that little feeling of like, you're being scared, you're being fearful, of asking for something like that, asking for a raise, asking for an extension of work. And if you want to put it in the more funnier ways, trying to ask for a girl out, a lot of guys, get scared of doing that. They don't know what to do, or they do know what to do, but they do it the completely wrong way. But I mean, it's an attraction of being scared and fearful. So you start mumbling, or sometimes you just suck at it. Sometimes you're just not good at it, and you should probably work on that. But in some areas we can say that's as a guy, being scared, and also something with, I think more like on the women's side is something that I kind of learned is that sometimes, obviously, not generalizing all the women, but a good amount don't like to work under pressure, or when they're pressured into something, they don't like that. They don't like that. For example, let's say if a guy's asking her out in the environment is not appropriate. There's too many eyes. There's too many people. She's feeling that pressure, and she might tell you like a yes, but it's like a yes that is not based on like her actually wanting to tell you yes, but a fear because there's a lot of pressure. There's people watching. She doesn't want to embarrass herself, and maybe doesn't want to embarrass you, but there's that sense of still kind of like a little bit of fear, of looking, not looking like you know what you're doing and stuff like that. It's still kind of like a fear. But like I said, like cowardice, it could mean even something as that, like for guys asking a girl out or something like that. It could even be you go to a mechanic shop. Sometimes let's say you go to a mechanic shop and you don't want to because why? You're scared of talking to the mechanic because you don't know what to talk. I've seen this type of you can say actions more towards like when it comes to women, and when it comes to going to the mechanic or going to stuff that it's not really considered like something that a woman should do. You can kind of say because it's natural. There's nothing wrong with that. But you still have that kind of like fear, and for guys that has a little bit more of maybe like sometimes in movies and stuff like that, confronting the bully. You're scared of the bully. Once the guy confronts the bully, everything goes well. But having that cowardness, that cowardness of doing stuff. And another way that we could kind of start bringing more back in instead of outdoor stuff like that is within oneself. Now that I've gotten older, I do try to see and who's like around my environment, see who's close to me, and like kind of try to get people that are not cowards, that are not weak. So the other verse that I want to read is Mark chapter 4, verse 17. All right, so it goes, and have no root in themselves, or you know what? I'll probably read from verse 16 and then jump on to 17. And these are they likewise which are sown and stony ground, who when they have heard the word immediately receive it with gladness, and have no root in themselves, and so endure but the timer afterward. When I feel like this thing is echoing so much in my ear. Nah, it's all good. Let me just finish reading verse 17. And they have no root in themselves, but endure for a while. Then, when tribulation or persecution arise on the account of the word, immediately they fall away. So in the verse 17, when it says they have no root, so people that are weak, coward, they have no root, they have no strong foundation, no solidation, no pillars, as I would always say. They have nothing really for themselves going kind of on, they have no root. So when tribulation comes, persecution, they fall away. So going back to what I was saying is like first of all, I'm speaking in a sense that you kind of you're not a coward. You're not a coward. Okay, you're not a coward. That's going with the perception of this already, that you're not a coward. But then when I'm going around is the people that are around you, and when it says that. I'm going to read it again. When they have no root in themselves. So, the people around you, when they have no root, they have no foundation, and tribulation and persecution arise, they will fall. So let's say you are the best always sense to put these type of things initially is like through old times. You know, let's say you're in a group and you're gonna go to battle, and you are with you and you have like 10 other guys with you, and let's say you're gonna confront the enemy and they all run away and leave you by yourself. They have no root. They have when tribulation, persecution, battle, war comes, they flee. They're not with you, and trying to find people that will not do that. It's hard. It's hard to find, especially let's say from a guy's perspective. It's really hard to find guys that are solid and loyal. There's a lot of people that portray that. They'll be like, hey, yeah, I'll follow you to the end and stuff like that. But when actual stuff happens, they don't do that. A way we can kind of modernize it is I mean, not everybody is in the same position, maybe financially or things like that. Everybody has, different positions. But when it comes to for me, like as a guy getting to a group together, we try to help each other out as much as we can. Try to have people that will support you if you need help with anything. Having people that are not cowards around you. And I think one thing that I've learned is I've tried to stay away from people that are like weak and coward, because people like that, they're not going to help you. Yeah, maybe at that moment they might be like, yeah, we'll help you and stuff like that. But when times comes, they're not going to help you. They're not going to give you any sorts of elevation or anything like that. They're just, yeah, they'll be there socially with words, but with actions, like the famous thing, actions speak louder than words. So your actions determine like if you really are a solid friend that is not weak. And usually, they don't help you build your dream. They don't help you build your goal. They don't help you build anything. And like I said, they could be around you physically talking and stuff like that. But when it comes to like things that actually matter, they won't be there. And these are maybe just simple examples. Like, let's say you need to take a test somewhere that's like a couple of hours away. Your car broke down, so you need a ride, you need a car. Having someone that you can rely on, hey, you know what, I need to do this, but this is going on. Can you help me? Having that person willing to help you. People that are like, and but that do not expect anything in return either. Other than them being your friend is enough for them. That's because there's people that are like that as well, that you'll, let's say, get a favor for them. And when it comes to things in the future, they use that against you. Hey, well, I helped you with this, so you got to help me with this now. So, that's also not a good friend. That's cowardness too, one of the things that I learned for sure is that if you ever ask for a favor, make sure you offer them a gift as well, in the sense of a meal or maybe just something, a small token, because you appreciate that they're helping you out. And I feel like that's a sign of respect. And that if you ask for a favor, hey, can I borrow your truck to move? Oh, yeah, sure. Hey, I'll fill it up for you, or, I'll buy you your next meal, or something as simple like that. I think that's a very genuine way of like being genuine and ask and respect. It's just more like a respect thing. And then when you wanted the favor, and you hopefully that person that you showed that token to can also show the same type of appreciation to you. And that's something that I kind of learned, and I think it's very important because it shows the type of character you are. And usually, when it comes to a lot of these things, it's a lot of the guys doing these things, but also with women, of course, you guys ask for favors, ask for help, and things like that, and help each other out. Maybe one day, you can do your friend's hair or something. I don't know. I don't know what you guys, or but helping each other out, and finding those people that are solid, and strong and fundamental. So the other verse that I want to read is in Matthew chapter 10, verse 8. And it goes, do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, be afraid of the one who can destroy both the soul and body in hell. And like this comes to a little bit more, I believe it could be, like I said here, do not be afraid of those who kill the body. Let's say we can put it in the sense of someone that leads you to drugs, alcohol, and things like that. That's destroying the body. But like I said, it also says here, but cannot kill the soul. Because sometimes, they'll try to influence or bring you to the point where you are, doing these other things, but your soul is still kind of like pulling away, you're still kind of fighting it. But at the end of the day, rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both the soul and the body, which, hell, sometimes a lot of the way I like to see things is sometimes, at nowadays, the devil cannot really paint hell as looking like a beautiful place. It can't, hell is hell. Devil cannot do anything to make it look beautiful or make it sound beautiful because there's nothing beautiful about it. But what he can do is um, put the path to hell to look beautiful. Let's say, like a very common thing, money, things, good opportunities, careers, and stuff like that. He paints the path of going to hell as looking at this beautiful or this successful or very, empowering thing. But at the end, it still leads to the same destination. But I think that's a very ideal concept of seeing it because hell itself, there's nothing that you can do to describe it to make it look nice. So the devil, it's easier for him to describe the path or the journey to look nice, but he can't do it with hell. And, obviously here in when the Bible, when it says the rightful path is narrow and the path of many is wide, so it makes it easier. It makes it easier for everybody to follow and things like that. Sometimes also another thing that we could kind of implement is a lot of people portray like the devil kind of like being this guy with horns, that's gonna attack you and things like that. But sometimes the way the devil manifests himself is maybe in careers and maybe in opportunities and maybe reaching your goal type of thing. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of like his main goal is to destroy you, deviate you, get you to go to hell. And a lot of the times, I know that's happened to me where you try to maybe figure something out or do something, but there's always that thing where in the back of your head or you have a gut feeling is telling you that it's not right or maybe I shouldn't be doing this or you're having kind of second thoughts about it. Pray on that and ask God for guidance and for wisdom to make sure you are doing the correct decision. Sometimes we try to, I know I've done it where, Mr. kind of know-it-all, where you're like, oh, no, I've done this already, I've done this before, or I'm old enough, I already graduated high school yesterday, I know what I'm doing. Like you get into that kind of mindset that you kind of know everything, but, you really don't. And it's always good to ask for advice, ask for counsel. But I obviously do encourage people to, look for people that are also, strong in faith, that are also themselves are pillars and are not people that don't know to go either right or left, but people that are strong and solid. Because that's also a hard thing to find other than the people around you, like I was mentioning, friends and stuff like that that are solid. At the same time, maybe your group is at an age that haven't experienced things and you need guidance. So you ask for someone that's maybe been in that scenario, in that situation, but you also have to ask people that are strong in faith. And I believe with time, sometimes time gives a lot of perspective, a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge. One thing that I kind of want to change a little bit the subject, but actually this on Tuesday, my brother told me, but our boss told us that one of the guys that we used to work with, he passed away. When he wasn't working with us anymore, but he did work with us for a couple of years, and we worked with him very closely. He was a handful, man. Like, he was really a handful, we were always bumping heads with him. There was days where it was good. There was days where we would bump heads. Man, it was a big roller coaster with that guy. But, at the end of the day, he did, treat us with respect. He never gave us any issues when it comes to like disrespecting or things like that. It was mostly like work related, or sometimes the things he would say or do would just be like, shake your head, just terrible stuff, or cringe. There we go. Like, you would do a lot of stuff like that, and you would just shake your head, and you would be like, why? How is this guy like this? Well, because he was when we met him, I think he was like 48 or 49. He was like an older guy, and like him doing all these things, I'd always kind of be like, man, dude, like, how are you this age and doing these things? Like, how have you survived this long on earth? Like doing all these things. Well, unfortunately, we heard that he passed away, and I think the part that kind of got me and my brother kind of thinking was that maybe like about like a month ago, we were like, hey, we should just randomly we should call this guy just to see how he's doing. He's like, yeah, I know, but he was kind of a handful. I was like, yeah, he kind of was. So we never reached out to him, you know. So it kind of got it kind of in our back of our heads, like, oh man, we should have probably reached out to this guy. But the part that kind of makes it, I guess you can say, sad is that, well, he passed away from cancer, but he found out, I think it was the beginning of October. So what are we in towards like a little bit over a month? So he didn't even have that because sometimes when people get diagnosed with cancer, they give them, oh, you have a year or you have months. They give them a good amount of time, to do treatment, and gives the family some time to kind of maybe prepare and mourn for it. But with this guy, there was only like a month and a half, and I was like, oh wow, just how things change real quickly. And the part that I find the most kind of sad is that we were trying to, some of the people from work, we were trying to figure out like, oh, when's going to be his like funeral service, or when are they going to bury him, things like that. And we found out that he's not going to get buried or nothing. They're just going to burn him. He's not going to have no ceremony. He's not going to have no funeral. He's not going to have anything. They're literally just going to burn him. And well, what happens is, well, at least the family claimed him. But usually when someone passes away and the family doesn't claim them, they take the body, they burn it, and they give it to Caltrans, and they just dump you on the road. It's kind of sad, but that's what they do when no one claims your body. And with this guy, I mean, he had a family, but none of them wanted to do anything. They just wanted to burn him, and that's it. And give him because usually when you get cremated and stuff, your ashes, they give him like in a plastic bag. So, the poor dude had like so many stuff going on with his life. He had cancer. Then even in death, there's nothing. It kind of made me think of like how are we gonna live like any sort of, and I don't want to say legacy, but like an implementation. Like people that are, oh, this guy was like this or this person was like that, and like I said, it goes back to like the people around you. Like, wait, that dude was a coward. He never wanted to confront anything. He never wanted to do anything. He never reached his goals because he was always scared of doing stuff. Because once you pass away, people start, because that's what we've been doing. Once we found out, we're kind of like, oh man, like this guy, unfortunately, he wouldn't really take care of his health and stuff like that. And when we would kind of talk about it, he would always get kind of upset that we were like, just like bullying him and stuff like that. And we're like, no, man, we're just trying to help out. But like I said, there's people that just don't like to take any sort of criticism, and you try to help them out and stuff like that. So it goes back to the thing about being surrounded by people that will encourage you and help you, and understand that when they're trying to tell you something, they're not telling you to bring you down, but give you like constructive criticism. But you also have to be smart and able to differentiate that when someone's just talking down on you and when someone's actually trying to help you. A lot of those things are very manipulative, and you got to kind of figure out when someone's actually trying to help you. I mean, the devil used to be an angel. So it's sometimes people that you think are there to help you and stuff. At the end of the day, they're trying to maybe bring you down on the low. You don't know. You got to be careful too who you surround yourself with. And that's why I always come back to the part where, having people that are not cowards, people that are not weak. Because one thing for sure that I know with all the stories in the Bible, that God rewards the brave. God rewards people who are actually trying, who are actually considering themselves into trying to be more than just, your average Joe, as they say. God does reward you. And like I said here, sometimes we're going to go through tribulations, persecution, troubles, hardships. But if God sees your consistency and sees that you're disciplined and that you're not going to turn away because you got something bad happen to you. There's this, it's kind of a funny side, but there's this guy that we see at the gym. And he always looks like he's angry. Like, he always looks like he's angry. And me and the other guys were like, oh, we come up with jokes like, oh, here comes the guy that the small check didn't pass. Oh, here comes the guy that didn't get the raise. Here comes the guy that didn't pass his driving license. Here comes the guy that, didn't pay his mortgage. Because he always looks like he's mad at something. So we always try to come up with different things that happen. And me and the other guys, they were kind of like, I wonder if he's really because he's like he's always in a mean face, so there's no way to really talk to people, and at the end of the day, you don't want to bug people, but we don't want to be like that either, just because something bad doesn't happen to you. I'm not saying that that happens to him. It's just a joke that we do to him, but like we don't want to be like that. If something bad happens to us, we don't want to. Oh, I do everything good, and then this happens. It's part of the tribulations, part of the troubles that you're gonna go through. Even with anything in general. I guess the most popular, most common one known, you could be, military. You got to go through boot camp. After you go to boot camp, depends on what type of job you get. You get trained again. If you want to be in infantry, you go through infantry school. You do more training, but you got to go through all these things, these rigorous trainings. Even if, let's say, you want to be in special forces, you got to go through like a bunch of different trials and different like trainings, and not everybody goes through. The most popular one are Navy SEALs. When you go to BUDS, that's always a vigorous training. But after BUDS, there's also other trainings that you go through and stuff like that. So there's always training. There's always something going on to be the best. To be better at like in that sense in the military, be the best soldier. Even with us, we're gonna have to go through battles, tribulations, and things like that. And there's some people that have different roles. For example, people that are playing music. You got to practice. Sometimes things don't go your way. Sometimes, you're playing and the strings rip and, you get all mad. I just tuned this. I just bought these strings. Things like that. Those, small little things that happen. But it could be small at that moment. But if it happens to you often, you start getting more mad. You start not wanting to play. Every time I play, the guitar breaks. And this is the second one that I bought. Maybe it's not meant for me. And you start thinking all these negative thoughts. And at the end, I'm just going to give up. So, there's a lot of different ways that we get tested and stuff, and maybe some people, like, I guess here that we can all know is with the radio station, working with like the computer, changing different musics, preachings, and things like that. I'm pretty sure there's times where maybe something gets completely deleted, and he wants to flip the table. I'm pretty sure he goes through stuff like that. But everybody that we have different roles, we go through different type of troubles. Everybody has kind of a different role that plays. Another one that I can think here locally is when they do the las ventas, the selling, the ribs and stuff. Oh, maybe this stack of ribs burned or something like that, or maybe the lettuce has mold and we bought all of them. Like just simple stuff like that sometimes could discourage you from not wanting to continue doing it. Like, oh, like I spend all this money and it's not right. Things like that. Maybe the little tent blew away. It's just like all these little things that can happen that you're serving in different ways. After maybe a good amount of them could be a way of discourage you for you not to do it. But, that's the whole point of going through all those things so you can stay firm. And not just that, but I think when we go through all these things, it's a sense of learning as well. Oh, maybe instead of ordering from this place, I'm going to order from this place because that place is not good. Maybe I shouldn't buy a guitar from this brand because the strings always snap, so I should buy a mejor from this other brand. You learn things. You learn things, and if you take them as a lesson and things like that, you actually get better. Because now maybe someone's asking you for your advice. Hey, I'm trying to buy a guitar. What should I buy? Oh, stay away from this brand because they break and stuff, so buy this brand instead. What program should I use for editing or things like that? Oh, don't use this program because they'll charge you more or they'll do this, so use this program instead. So, at the end of the day, it helps you to be able to help other people, but you got to kind of go through that in order for you to be able to do that. What I mean? It's not something that you just kind of learn. And sometimes if you have a good teacher, you don't have to go through all that, but then there's going to be different things that are going to be maybe acquired to you that you would have to go through. Maybe like, let's say in the sense here, you're a firefighter and stuff, and the water doesn't want to come out. Oh, hey, this nozzle doesn't work, so we got to replace it with this other nozzle, and things like that. Like stuff that happens at work. With me, I could say maybe I'm going to use the taser and it doesn't work, and then I get jumped. Oh man, I shouldn't be using this taser brand because it's not good. I got jumped. Things like that. Like it's just little stuff like that happens to us. But going through all these different things help us learn, help us be equivalent to be able to be a good teacher and a good person. And if you surround yourself with people that, like I said, that help you, encourage you, you can even be even better. That's why sometimes a lot of the one of the of ancient times, one of the groups that I always admire is the Knights Templar. The way they had set up everything from the beginning to like to their end. They were always very organized. You know, they were one of the first ones that set up the banking system. At the end, their downfall was not because of them themselves, but because the people around them got jealous. People around them saw how successful they are, and so they plotted against them. So if you are in a good environment with good people, you can level yourself up pretty good. If you want to start a business and you have people around you that support you, that are loyal to you, and things like that, you know, you can have a successful business and work in your team, especially with people that work with teams and things like that. If you have people that pull all their weight, and like when I used to work at a restaurant, you know, and everybody it was busy, you know, how it gets really busy and stuff. But when everybody does their jobs, it could be busy, but it goes smoothly, you know, it goes successful. No one's throwing pans and plates and stuff like that. You know, everything goes. I mean, Elias is not here, so I can ask him out. But you know, like we've all been through different in work or in school projects. We've all, I think, to a certain extent, different levels, obviously depending on like your age and where you're at. We've all gone through different scenarios where like you're working with a group, and you know things either go successfully or things do not go successfully. But as long as I'm speaking from the point of view that you are someone that puts in the work, you are someone that is not bringing the team down, you are someone that's actually already with the mindset that you're there to help and not to be a rock in someone's shoe, as they say. And so the last verse I kind of want to get to is in Romans chapter 8, verse 31. And I'm going to read it. It says, what then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, then who be against us? So we all know, like I was talking about all these problems, issues that we might encounter and things like that at the end of the day, you know, what then shall we say to these things? You know, what then shall we say to not getting that raise? What should we say to, you know, things that happen to us, you know, this broke, you got to fix, you know, things like happen to us. What do you say? Even though, you know, some of those small things could be materialistic, but I mean, if you want to, you know, dive deeper into like what you are going through in your life, relationship stuff, you know, maybe, you know, you found something that with funds and like a marriage, and because that sometimes becomes an issue when the, you know, the couple is not 100% fundamentally inclined to understanding their finances, and one is spending more than the other, and you know it becomes issues. Maybe you found out that your son's doing drugs, and you know all these more like kind of like on a serious note. You know, people that maybe get the law involved, and now you got to pay this. You know, things that tend to go down as more serious. We can say if God is for us, then who could be against us? So we remain strong, we remain faithful, you know, to God to be with us the whole time. But I also do believe that we can pray to God, we can ask Him for forgiveness, we can ask Him for help, we can ask Him for wisdom. And, you know, there's that very famous quote or saying that, you know, we pray for rain, right? You know, and you guys understand that quote, right? When people say we pray for rain? You guys have an idea? No? Yes? Kind of like saying, you know, it's an analogy of saying like, you know, I want to get this job, so I'm praying to God that I get this job. Oh, I want to pass this class, so I want to pray to God that I pass this class. You know, it's an idea of, you know, I want to pray God for rain. But at the same time, we also got to worry that, you know, there's going to be mud. You know, there's going to be mud. When there's rain, there's water, there's also mud. So we got to prepare for rain too. You know, we got to be able to endure that there's also going to be mud. For example, let's say if you get that promotion, you get promoted, you get your new office, but now you got a coworker that is always on you, micromanaging you and bugging you. And now you're going to be like, oh man, do I really wanted this promotion? But you got to prepare for the mud because you don't know who's going to be around there. Oh, hey, you know what? I want to get promoted and, you know, send out to this other place or something. So you get there and you're kind of like, oh man, this is not what I thought it was going to be. You know, there's a little bit more work. There's a little bit more responsibility. So sometimes when you pray for rain, when you pray for all these things, you gotta, like I said, prepare for the mud as well, because there's gonna be a new thing that's gonna be in the way that you never saw before because you were praying for rain, so you hadn't received it. Once you receive it, you start seeing the mud, and then you're kind of like, oh man, I also got to work with this. I also got to clean this up. And as you know, there's also another analogy famous that says new levels, new devils. So as you get hired to different things or different work, different classes, different schools, there's different things that are going to happen. Um, for example, like kind of like me, since I have my license to carry a firearm and stuff at work, I have more responsibility. I have more renewals that I go to. I gotta every year I gotta go a couple of times to the range to be able to know that I know how to shoot, that I know how to use the gun, and I also got to pass. So you go through all these renewals. I go through all these renewals in order for me to be able to stay on top of like my game. So it's something that I never did before if I hadn't acquired the license. But now that I have the license, there's these things that I got to worry about. I gotta make sure I pass, and it's just new things to do. Even in the military, when you go through, let's say if you're a sergeant, staff sergeant, you also go through certain renewals, and they're called renewals because you got to see if you're still capable of doing things. You're still capable of doing things, and I think that's one thing that I think we also, to kind of conclude is that we got to be ready and prepared. We got to renew ourselves every now and then. It's, talking from a spiritual sense, let's say every now and then we still got to fast. We still got to pray. We still got to do these things, even though we're asking for, you say, I want to get this. Because, nowadays, the most things, here you can kind of say worldly is that, jobs, careers, school. That's the stuff that we kind of work around with business. It's like, you're praying to God, hey, I need a car to get to work. Yeah, but learn how to drive, dude. There's a lot of things that we ask, that we do, but we don't do it in a way that is very, sensical. We don't think about a lot of things. I call it sometimes like an umbrella with holes, useless. It doesn't have any, because you're not preparing yourself. Once you get all that stuff, like I said, the renewal part of, you still got to ask. Thank God, once you get that job, thank God, renew it. Keep on renewing your faith. Keep on renewing that you trust God. Keep on renewing that you still know that God is with you, because, like it says in the verse, if God is for us, then who can be against us? Keep on renewing that fundamental. And I think it's something important that we should keep on doing and keep on trying to acquire. Even though we move to different levels, different careers, different things, we should always keep on renewing our faith in God. I mean, it should never diminish from the start, but, it happens. It always happens. Once we get that new job, that new career, we get sent, we tend to forget about God sometimes, that He's the one that gave us this opportunity. He's the one that gave us this chance to be able to do these things. And we got to keep on renewing our faith in Him, and especially when we have something that we prayed for, and that we asked for, and God gave it to us. I think that's something that we should always continue to work on. But, to conclude, hopefully you guys understood the idea, the concept that, don't be a coward, and don't be weak. And if you have people around you, surrounding you, make sure those people are not cowards and those people are not weak. And make sure to always trust God. Make sure to not let all these other things, happen to us. It could be work, it could be school, it could be family, it could be friends. Don't let all these small things that happen to us, all these tribulations, diminish us from what we believe in, even though it is going to shake in us. It is going to, shake us to the core, depending on how serious the matter is. But, there's another famous analogy, no pain, no gain, I can go on about analogies, man. But with that, I kind of want to conclude, and we can stand up and do a quick prayer. Thank you, God, for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you, God, for giving us the strength, the knowledge,